welcome to episode 85 of the number one amateur hour podcast, Endless Backlog Podcast. I am your host, your beacon of truth, Gagan. Hope all is well where you are. Joining me today is Just William Berger.
Yo, what's up, gang?
You excited for another two-man podcast? Only this time it's the first one with me and you, I think.
I think we might have done one before this, maybe. Yeah. I mean, two-man podcasts are good because then it's just more like a conversation, whereas it's like, Chris, Ben, what do you think? Like, let's go in order here.
Everyone goes silent for about 30 minutes, and then you have to remind them, hey, we're podcasting, wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, do you believe it or not, since I render these for YouTube now, that thing renders and takes as long as the fucking video is. So when we have 3 or 4 people, those are 3-hour podcasts. Well, 2.5 usually. Two-man are like 1 hour to 1 hour and 30 minutes. It's great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, right? Anyway. So we're actually recording this a lot later than usual because I think Tuesday you and Chris had stuff come up and I was on vacation, so I just fucking said, all right, fuck it. I could do it any other day this week then. You know, I mean, like, the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm just going to strong-arm one of you on this podcast. Ben, we're doing a two-man show. But, so initially we were going to get Chris on this as well, but Chris has plans today, so I figured, fuck it, Chris, take the week off. I was like, well, I'll probably have him on when we both finish Dark Souls 3 again, so, you know, so we could talk about it more in detail. But today, we're just going to try to put a quickie up, since, you know, whatever. In case you haven't noticed, a lot of us are playing Dark Souls 3. Ben's being basically consumed by Picross 3.
It's true.
Yeah, and then, how was your week, though?
It was good. Busy. I had a couple interviews for things, did lots of, like, promotion for stuff that I work on. I'm thinking about starting a magazine with some people, you know. Nice. nothing super crazy, but it's been a lot of planning.
Go back to the magazine. What are you going to call the magazine?
We're still pitching names, but right now we're thinking about Monkeys with Matches.
Monkeys with Matches, heard.
Yeah, so, I don't know. But it's going to be like a lit mag where people will submit stories and plays and all sorts of craziness.
Nice. That's good.
It should be good, yeah. So, what about you? You been up to anything crazy aside from not dying?
No, I've been on vacation basically since last Sunday. Tax season technically ended a few days ago, but at my firm it actually ends even earlier than that just because we go through so many of our clients so fast that once we get to this final week, it's really just a bunch of late personal. And, you know, like, my bosses are usually cool with putting that on the youngins. So, like, they knew I had a vacation coming up, and I had enough reason to fucking kill some time and play some Dark Souls, that I was like, yeah, I'll take it this week, and I did. The intention was that I was going to play a lot of Dark Souls 3. What ended up happening was that I discovered that you can actually have multiple days in a row with more than 4 hours of sleep. So I've been getting so much sleep. Like, if I naturally wake up at 4 in the morning at this point because that's when I usually wake up.
Right.
Every time I wake up, I'm like, nope, go right back to bed. I woke up at 10 a.m. today, and I'm like, I can get 2 more hours of sleep. It was really bad, actually, like, Wednesday, because I think I slept, you know, when you've slept way too long, and your whole body is like, what the fuck?
And all it wants to do is sleep more, and you're like, no.
Yeah. And you're like, when you get up, everything's just off kilter, Like, so I have to behave a little bit more about that, because I don't enjoy that feeling. That's when you know you had a bad night of sleep.
Yeah.
Because there is such a thing as too much sleep. Other than that, I mean, well, Sunday, I remember going to, so my friend Diane, who I worked with when I was at Carrabba's in, like, freaking 07, 08, and all that time. Like, I'm still really good friends with her. Her daughter turned 3, so a lot of us were at her daughter's birthday party, right? And, I had to do the last minute shopping, because I was going to just buy Disney movies, and Best Buy's Disney section kind of sucked. Like, there was no Lion King, there was no Beauty and the Beast, there was no Cinderella. I was like, what the fuck is this?
That Disney Vault, man, it'll get you every time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Is that what it is? Like, when Disney puts things in a vault, you're not going to find that movie as easily?
Pretty much, yeah. That's.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if they are still doing that as much because everything's like on Netflix now. But yeah, like they still do that where it's like we're gonna release the Diamond Edition of Aladdin, and then it's gonna go back in the vault for like 5 years, and you will not be able to get Aladdin.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Cause I was always just bad mouthing Best Buy's fucking Disney. I was like, wow, it really sucks. You know, like what the fuck? I ended up buying her. So I ended up first calling my friend Maria, but she couldn't pick up because I think she was working at the time, and then I ended up calling my niece. I'm like, Jessica, this is important. You need to get your serious face on. And then I asked her, I was like, would you rather watch Wall-E or I can't remember what the other movie, or Sleeping Beauty? And her initial reaction was like, that's what you called me for? And then eventually she was like, I don't really remember Wall-E. And because like initially I would have bought the kid Wall-E because it's like, I really love Wall-E. You know what I mean? But I didn't want to buy her something that I love because it's like, you know, I need to take into account this is a 3-year-old girl. You know, she's not going to be able to appreciate the greater strengths of Wall-E as a film. So I ended up going with Tangled, Sleeping Beauty, and Finding Nemo because my niece actually had a great reason for it. She was like, well, that new Finding Dory movie's out, so she could watch that before she watches Finding Dory. Like, that's true! That's actually a good freaking reason!
Gotta get them young.
Yeah, so that was fun. Otherwise, I spent most of that birthday party, like, just talking to Diane, and a few of our coworkers and, like, their boyfriends were there. So I ended up actually talking video games with two of them, actually. Both Justin and Dan. Dan was surprisingly into video games in a way that, like, I could just talk to you guys, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we were talking Uncharted, Mario Galaxy, Zelda, Dark Souls. He's really into Heavy Rain. And I'm like, I didn't really like Heavy Rain, but like I wasn't dickhead about it or anything, because I'm like, alright, whatever. He likes the game. Like, I'm usually fine with other people liking games I don't like. It's contrary to popular opinion. I don't like when someone tells me I'm wrong for saying it's shit. It's like, no, fuck you, that game sucks. Anyway, but like, Heavy Rain actually, like, of the David Cage games, I actually do like Heavy Rain on some level, because like, as he pointed out, first of all, it's so fucking different for everything else, right? And there was something really cool about watching the different ways that game, like, weaved in and out. Surprisingly, he also hates Beyond Two Souls, so I'm starting to sense that Heavy Rain is the one everyone really likes from David Cage, but then, like, no one really cares for Beyond Two Souls in the same way.
Yeah, right? Kira hates that game.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, because it's not like I enjoy the necessary playing it part of Heavy Rain, because, like, the things about the plot do bother me. But, like, I was always intrigued while playing that game, so, you know, which we don't get a lot of nowadays, right?
No.
Actually, no, him and his girlfriend were actually playing, what's it called, Until Dawn.
Right.
And it's, like, another group of people that really like that game, so, like, I still really want to try that game. But, you know, I have to buy it first, since, like, I'm lazy these days. So,
buying things.
Yeah, buying things. Like, I have to go to a store. I was thinking about buying a digital, but I'm like, ugh. There's probably better sales out there I could get, so I don't know. So there was that. Oh, another one of our friends was actually at that party, and she came dressed as Elsa, because the little thing's got a thing for Frozen, right?
Of course. It
was the most adorable freaking thing. First of all, our homegirl Kristen was so fucking good at the Elsa thing, because she could sing. You know, your friends tell you have a friend that can sing, and you go, yeah, I'm sure they can sing. No. She could fucking sing. I was, like, legitimately impressed. But, like, oh my god, this is impressive.
Right.
Yeah, so she was getting really good. And, like, the kid bought it hook, line, and sinker. And then, like, she's just asking Elsa all these questions. And then Elsa's like, yeah, I'm gonna be here for a bit, and I'm leaving. And then the little kid is like, it's like, you're not going anywhere. But, like, it's super rapey and, like, wrong, but it was adorable at the same time, because it sounded murdery. She's like, no, you're not going anywhere. What do you mean?
You're going to stay here forever?
Yeah. Oh, it was funny. She did the kid thing. We're like, why? And it's because she's like, I have to go see my family. Why? It's like, because they live at home. Why? Because they're my family. It's like, okay, that's funny. So that kid had a good party. It was fun. Other than that, yeah, like I said, sleep. Played a lot of Dark Souls 3, obviously. I ended up finishing Dark Souls 2 this past week.
Which you don't like.
Which I don't like as much as the other Souls games. When I get on a string of hating on that game, I can get on a string of hating that game. But I would not go out of my way to call it a bad video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is very much... calling it the Metroid Prime 3 of that series is actually a bit wrong, because I was like, that's insulting to Metroid Prime 3 a bit, because I actually would call Metroid Prime 3 a good video game. Its greatest crime is that it's a sequel to Metroid Prime 2. And Metroid Prime 2 is excellent. So...
Or Metroid Prime 3.
Yeah. It's like, you know, like, Metroid Prime 3 is streamlined, whereas Dark Souls 2 is, like, just sloppy in ways. I mean, we've talked about this enough times. Like, it's just way too many mobs. A lot of the later areas are just fucking tedious. The run back to some of these bosses is a drag. And it's always been a bit of a drag in this series, right?
Right.
But it became, like, even more obnoxious during a certain part. Like, there's this boss called Verstat, or whatever. I can't remember the name at this point. But the hallway up to him is, like, this long fucking hallway. In front of the fog door is two, like, halberd knights and a dragon slayer who's a boss from earlier in the game, right? Who has a tracking move. And then, in between that, behind the pillars, are mages who shoot homing soul arrows. So, not even regular soul arrows that, like, basically are heat-seeking missiles. And it's like, why is this the run-up to a boss? Like, there's no way to... like, you're gonna run by them, yes, but you're gonna get hit. Right?
Right.
And if you're not really moving, the soul arrows alone could probably kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, by the time you get to the boss, like, you gotta, like, get your stamina up, and you're just like, ugh. So it's like, just little things like that are super irritating. The continuity issues are well documented. Matthew Matosis basically ripped this game a new one on some level. But at the end of the day, I still like it enough, because, like, Dark Souls plays well mechanically, right? But it was just sloppier than usual. It felt amateur hour in a way that the other Souls games have their low budget feel, right? But that's on, like, the technical stuff. Like, the pure game design of that game is immaculate. It's superb at time, most of the time, right? Like, there's some moments where they're like, all right, I didn't agree with that decision making. But for the most part, like, it's really well thought out. Dark Souls 2, you just sit through and you just go, this is bullshit. Like, this is just meant to antagonize me.
Who made this?
Yeah, like, fuck this. So, that wasn't fun, but I've been enjoying Dark Souls 3 a lot. That's been really good. I don't know if I'm gonna have it beaten by the next time we have our podcast up, but I do plan on it, because I'm not leaving myself too many days to actually beat Resident Evil Remake in Jamestown in this month. Jamestown's, like, probably beat in a day, but, you know.
I mean, Remake you could probably beat in a day, too. It's
yeah, Remake absolutely could probably beat in a day, but I like enjoying that game's atmosphere and all that stuff and doing all the extra stuff. So the thing with Dark Souls 3 is, right, like, it's a lot of smart decisions to the game mechanically, right? Most people would argue not having to upgrade armor is actually a bit of a blessing. Just because because now you're not going to farm for items for your weapons. Your items, right? Your armor. I would argue that if you're playing Dark Souls just straightforward, you will probably get the upgrade material you need to upgrade your weapons. Almost no problem. Maybe you'll do a bit of grinding, but nothing too serious. When you need to upgrade your armor, however, that gets a bit more dicey. And that's going to require you to actually, like, invest in your guy a bit more. And that, you know, that can be a bit time-consuming, and not everyone finds it fun. It feels unnecessary. And plus, people like playing Dark Souls as fashion souls, which is when you just rock whatever the fuck you want. Which a lot of people do. Like, they just, like, I want to wear stuff that makes my character look cool. Which, whatever. Me, I'm always for which one gives me the best physical defense. Like, what defends me better? What gives me best statistical chance? Mostly because I don't PvP as much as other people do. Like, I leave the invasions and stuff on. I don't inherently invade. Other than that one time I joined the Blood Moon Covenant Dark Souls 1. But otherwise, like, I leave it on because I think it adds a lot to the gameplay when you are being invaded.
Right.
There's just a different level of tension there. It gives the game just that much more of a personality. And I enjoy playing this game with the internet. What else did they change that was for the better? The continuity issues aren't there as much. It seems better connected. It's not, quote-unquote, interconnected the way Dark Souls 1 is, because it's not Metroid. It's more Bloodborne, right?
Right.
And that's fine, because Bloodborne was a great example of exceptional level design. You know, they made a lot of labyrinthine environments that fold back in on themselves for ease of navigation. And From Software's got that shit down to a fucking art form these days. The thing is, and this is the biggest hurdle for this game right now for me. It's still a really good game. It feels like a greatest hits collection. Like the bosses haven't been retreads necessarily. They have been very interesting to look at. They've maybe overcorrected the whole Dark Souls 2 complaint of everyone is just dudes in armor. And they're like, well, now you fight a giant herpes tree. And here is this fucking dude who's going to have, like, a snake arm because reasons, right? Like, that stuff's great. It's just, like I said, it's the greatest hits. Like, none of it feels new and unknown. And I would argue these games were at their best, like, the absolute best. When it's a journey into the unknown, when it's things you don't understand. I would argue, like, part of the fun of playing Bloodborne with the forum, right, is that none of us knew certain aspects of that game. Like, first of all, even as little things as, like, relearning the controls, like, having to like, when triangle is your healing item, and the freaking, the two-hand is, I guess, R1, right?
Right.
Like, that changed a lot. Well, not R1. It would be L1, right? L1, and you're like, well, that changes things for us a little bit. Because, like, me and Ricky, like, that was, like, we kept healing ourselves when we wanted to hit someone harder. Like, we ended up wasting so many blood vials early in that game. That's how I ended up starting, like, a whole new character. Because I'm like, all right, now I get the controls. Now I can do this part a little bit better. And just, like, different mechanics work differently. And how certain covenants would play out. And just where things would be. Whereas with Dark Souls 3, it's like, I know what an Estus Flask is. I know what an Estus Flask Shard is. I know if something's on fire, chances are I'm going to use Lightning Pine Resin or something. Because I know what Gold Pine Resin does. I know what Poison Moss does. I know what the Curse Frogs do now. I know that the blobby shits from Dark Souls, the depths area of the Dark Souls area, you can't do enough damage to them physically. You have to hit them with fireballs or something, right? Like, I know this stuff, so it becomes less and less. Like, it's still enjoyable to play because the series is great on a gameplay level, right? Like, that's the thing that makes Assassin's Creed less entertaining than other franchises that get quote-unquote stale, is that when the mechanics are good, you can keep playing that game. Like, Halo... Yes, the multiplayer eventually got to a point where I'm just like, I don't ever really want to... I'm not super into Halo anymore. But, like, Halo 5 was still a really good game because it was like, it's Halo. It still plays really well. Gears of War 4, I feel like, will be the similar thing. Like, we'll recognize it as a good game, but we'll probably all end up going, yeah, but it's another one, right? Whereas, like, Assassin's Creed, we're like, oh, fuck, it's another... Like, it's more vitriol when we say it's another one there. Whereas, like, it's another Mario 3D platformer. It's like, whatever. They're still really good games. It's just... They took him out into space, so now we don't know if there's anything else they can do with this guy, right?
Like, what else is there? Mario Space and Time Edition. Oh, okay.
Like, Dark Souls is now officially, I would argue, in the Nintendo franchise realm of issues, which is that it will never be a bad game. Like, realistically, them making a bad game is going to take effort. But... it stopped being the masterpiece release that it usually was. And that's what Dark Souls 3 feels like. And it's also because, like, in general, I don't like greatest hits collections. I always find that stupid. I know people are like, well, it's a love letter to the fans. I'm like, a love letter to the fans should be a new, evolving experience. Not like... Like, I don't like Halo Reach strictly because, as a campaign, because... I don't like the fact that Bungie's having a circle jerk to themselves. I think to me, it would be the equivalent if, like, all of a sudden Tarantino stopped making movie references to other people's movies and started referencing himself. I'd be like, wow,
like the characters in the Hateful Eight started talking about Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Then I'd be like, this is just douchey, right?
Right.
And, whatever, like, I have more respect for Dark Souls campaign, the Souls game campaigns than, say, the Halo campaigns, but like, it's a similar effect of, I've done this mission before, I've done this area before, and you know what? I liked it a little bit more the first time because of X, Y, and Z, because, you know, contextually those areas had more of a narrative impact in those worlds. They had a better, like, through line. They made sense in the context of the gameplay. This could still be the case, but I don't like going to the catacombs and thinking, wow, it's the Bloodborne Chalice Dungeons area. You know? And
yeah.
It's like, no, that's not as interesting. So, again, really good game. A lot of the bosses have been enjoyable. I got stuck on a few bosses for a string of, nothing as long as Father G, because Jesus Christ, nothing could be as long as Father G for me. But the herpes tree, I remember you were there with me while I died like maybe 7 or 8 times. But once we figured out the cheese technique, it was like, yeah, it wasn't even.
He went down, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Father G, where when I killed him, it was still really close. Like, it was still down to the wire with Father G.
Watching you play Father G was the highlight of Bloodborne for me.
Yeah.
As a game that I never played, it was just like Gagan's fighting Father G. Like, we're all going to be here for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours is underselling it. Jesus Christ, something like 4. And then there was another one you were just watching me, actually. It was the old Demon King, who I'm naming Johnny Cash because he has a Ring of Fire move. Initially, it just felt like I wasn't doing enough damage, and I stand by this. I don't like the way the camera works during that fight. It feels way too up close, more than usual.
No, you can't see anything, yeah.
Yeah, it was like there was just, it makes dodging some of his moves a little bit more irritating. But once I figured out to two-hand my weapon and just straight up stick to one side of this guy, I was like, oh, well, I guess he's actually not that hard. Because again, like, when we were fighting him, it was like he really didn't hit me that hard that fight when I beat him. Like, I basically handled him. I looked like
it was all just the two-handing. Like, that was it.
Yeah, it was two-handing and just sticking to his right side as opposed to never going to his left. Spoilers, I'm sorry for anyone I just ruined that fight for. Whatever.
We're sure there's probably other ways to beat it. I mean, I honestly think you wandered into that area before you were supposed to.
Yeah, a lot of the messengers are saying you should fight him from range, which makes sense. Because a lot of his moves don't really go far, and fighting him up close seemed like not always in my best interest. Because I could only really get one hit at a time. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because once I realized it was only going to get one hit, that's how I started beating him. Every time it was going for 2 or 3, it was like, no, you don't got that time. So yeah, that's Dark Souls 3 in a nutshell, though. Is that it is Dark Souls. It is a Dark Souls-ass Dark Souls. It is we fucked up with Dark Souls 2, so now we're gonna make the safest entry of Dark Souls you can get. And if it's the last Dark Souls, that's fine, right? Like, whatever, you're going out, it's a bit, But of the things I've learned with this franchise, that I don't really like when they do sequels all of a sudden. Maybe the best thing that happened to Demon Souls is that there isn't a Demon Souls 2. And maybe I don't really want a Bloodborne 2 as much as I think I do. Because maybe what really helps Bloodborne stick out, because what helps both Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne is that they're so different from each other, right? They feel more like Mega Man 2 to Mega Man X and not Mega Man 2 to Mega Man 3. Yeah. Which is what Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 feel like. So,
the worst part is, like, if Dark Souls 3 had been Dark Souls 2, you probably wouldn't feel that way.
I think I would still feel... It wouldn't be to the same extent, because we wouldn't have had Bloodborne yet, right?
Right.
But I think after Bloodborne, I would have come to that similar conclusion of, Because, I mean, in general, like we've already established, like, I tend to be very annoyed when the sequels are samey. Right? Like, I'll recognize that the game is really good or well made, but it's like, like, if you ask me what's a better game between Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, I was like, if you're a robot, Twilight Princess is a better game. There's nothing Twilight Princess doesn't do. Oh, alright, whatever. There are things Ocarina does better, but, like, pure mechanics, pure dungeon, it's hard to argue against Twilight Princess. The quality of life changes to just the interface, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Ocarina of Time was an unknown the first time we played it. Like, we were floored. I've always said, I was like, no game in the history of our lifetime, barring a VR game, like, VR will be the next time we see an Ocarina of Time, in my opinion. Maybe not, like, of that caliber, but, like, that next feeling of, that's different from everything else we played. Right. That is a whole different stratosphere from everything else we've been playing so far. Which is what Ocarina of Time felt like. We went from 2D games, and yeah, there were 3D games before Ocarina of Time. Mario 64 is a masterpiece, blah, blah, blah. But, like, when we got to Ocarina of Time, it was like sort of like the legitimizing point of 3D space to a lot of people. You know what I mean? So, and that's what makes Ocarina. And plus, like, we've argued it before, like, there's a pacing to Ocarina of Time that's a little, like, once it gets some of its bloat out of the way, it's more consistent. It does a really good job making you buy into that story, that world, right? Those dungeons are still enjoyable for the most part, outside of 2, right?
Right.
And it's like, you being that exact same game but slightly better is only a product of you having a decade on that game, right? And that's not impressive. The sequel should do those things better. The problem with being a sequel is you need to find a new creative direction, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why people really gravitate towards Galaxy, because it takes Mario to space and it does different things with those mechanics. Even though mechanically you could argue that Galaxy is worse than Mario 64 and worse than Sunshine, right? But like, but the level design variety of that game is amazing. And I'm of the opinion that Mario Galaxy 2 is a way better game than Galaxy, which blows my mind to this day. But like, plenty of people would argue they'd rather play Mario Galaxy 1 every time just because it feels fresher. It feels more like an adventure with the way the hub world is done in that game, as opposed to the face ship, making it like level by level, right? Which I get. I think that's what people really like about Mario 64, is it feels more like an adventure in comparison to the Marios that came after it.
Yeah, right? Because 64 drops you into a level and says, go nuts, basically.
Yeah, it's one like the most open games of all time.
And then Galaxy is like, we're going to put you through a really incredible obstacle course.
Yeah.
And that's
it's a bit more linear.
And that's cool. It's just, it's a very different from like, the coolest thing about, like when you go to like a different star in a level in 64 is you can get to all the old stuff and it kind of changes your understanding of the level. In Galaxy, that doesn't really exist. In either one of them, you're just like, okay, this is a tweaked version of that level that is going to make me do something different. Like, you don't feel like you're playing the same place just from like a different perspective. You know what I mean? Like, it's been altered in a fundamental way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, pretty much agreed with that all entirely. But I still really like Super Mario Galaxy 2. I think that game's fantastic. But but that's the similar reason why people we like Demon Souls. Other people really love the way Dark Souls is. It feels, again, more like an adventure in comparison to Demon Souls and Bloodborne because of the way the world loops around. And, the bonfire system was so fucking perfect in that game. And for whatever reason, they won't just keep it perfect the way it is. Because nowadays, they're like, you have to teleport back to a hub area because Miyazaki wants you to have a home base. But it's like, Firelink Shrine felt like a home base. Not because you had to go there, but when you went there, it felt natural when you went there.
Right, and the whole world, like, game world revolves around, like, alright, it's back to Firelink to find the new area.
Yeah, or at the least, when you came back to Firelink, it felt like a safe return from everything else in the game. Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, in my opinion, and Dark Souls 2, bring you back so many times that home base loses some of its appeal. I think part of the appeal of Firelink Shrine is actually that you don't go there as often, but when you do, you're like, man, look at how much things have changed since I've come back here. Like, you start reflecting on things that have happened in the game, the bosses you fought, the areas you've been, and just been like, wow. And like, part of the fun of the game is actually the backtracking, going all the way back, sometimes carrying all those souls, or even going back to some sissy areas and realizing, wow, I'm a beast right now.
Yeah.
That's great. Part of what made Anor Londo so menacing as an area was, oh my god, it's a bit disconnected from the rest of the game now. Like, I'm in this area, Painted World, being in that area by yourself and being away from the rest of the game all of a sudden, it's like, holy shit, this is a little different. Now I have to beat this area and get out of here. Plus the bosses option. There's just little cool things like that were done in that game. And, not saying Dark Souls 3 can't do that, but very few things in this game have been something of Dark Souls 3 alone and not like, hey, remember that one cool part in Dark Souls? Remember that one cool area in Demon Souls? Don't you just love the way these areas were designed in Bloodborne? And it's like, yeah, those are great in Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne. It's only good here.
Right.
Yeah, so, whatever. still, anyone that likes the Souls game, you should definitely pick it up. It's been enjoyable. It's a massive step up from Dark Souls 2, and playing that game at 60 frames on PC, Jesus Christ, so good. And other than that, so we're going to get some newsy stuff before I get into your games, because we already got to my part, because it naturally went there. But May, William.
Yes.
The month of my birth.
Month of your birth.
Yeah. Is a busy, busy month.
Yeah, and you know, it's not busy in like sheer quantity of releases, really. It's more like, hey, look at all these like big things that are releasing within a few days of each other.
Yeah.
So you've got what all is in May? It's
all right,
Uncharted
so let's
4.
go over this. The May 3rd starts with Battleborn. That's Gearbox's new IP. That's a $60 release, new IP. It's multiplayer. It has a single player. It's got co-op, right? Initial worry was that game was going to be a lot like Borderlands, but it's really more like this weird hero shooter thing we're doing now in a post-Team Fortress 2 world. I don't know why it took like a decade for people to start taking cues from Team Fortress 2, but whatever. And it's got like a MOBA thing going on with its multiplayer. It's,
Right.
Don't know what Stellaris is, that strategy game by Paradox. But that's under the radar. But that could be a really good game, because Paradox has always been really good at developing strategy games, and 4-buys are awesome, and that game actually looks really good. The next day, May 10th, is Uncharted 4: Thief's End. Most people can pretty much guess that game is going to do really well in sales. It's going to be one of the bigger marketed games of the month.
It'll probably do really well critically.
Yeah, it'll probably do really well critically, for one reason or another. May 13th is Doom. The new Doom 4. Beta's out for that game. Mostly people have been of mixed opinions on that multiplayer, but hey, that single player could still nail it for all anyone knows. But that's,
I mean, at this point, you're not going into Doom for, I don't think, the multiplayer. I think you're going in for the...
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame, because I would argue to people, it's like, Doom may not be remembered for its multiplayer, but should be. It was the first of that kind to really go multi. Doom Deathmatch was amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the games have transitioned more to like a single player like in a post Quake, especially for id.
Yeah. And that, and the fact that id really only worked on the single player, and Doom 4 is multiplayer is certain affinity, is like, okay, there's certain reasons for why this is an id-ish, but it is. People have already sort of like tempered their expectations. May 17th, the big release is Homefront: The Revolution. When I say big release, I'm using air fucking quotes. Because the first Homefront is a whatever video game that wasn't worth anything, frankly.
Who's doing that? Crytek, right?
It's not. It's Dambuster Studios.
I don't know who that is. Nobody knows who that is.
It's predecessor Free Radical. It's Free Radical, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be good then, hopefully.
Yeah, it could be good, but... Like, I want it to be good because I really remember liking Time Splitters, and I kind of want to play that Second Sight game. People swear that game's actually pretty rad, right?
Right. I actually have a copy of that.
Yeah. But I think what people aren't remembering correctly is that that Haze exists, and Haze was garbage.
Yeah, Haze is
not even kind of garbage. And then they did the multiplayer for Crysis 2 and Crysis 3. Now, none of the Crysis games had good multiplayer. But what I played at Crysis 2 was they made Modern Warfare, but with Crysis's nanosuit. Which actually isn't as good as you think it is.
That is not nearly as good as it sounds, which is really unfortunate.
Which is unfortunate, because I actually really like Crysis's nanosuit. But whatever, who knows? That game could be good. I mean, listen, we already assume Uncharted 4 is going to be amazing. It could be the other way around for all we know. Sorry, I couldn't
right?
even
Like this is the decline of Naughty Dog, and then like
this will be, and then now suddenly Crytek will rise from the ashes. No. Also on that day is Shadow of the Beast, which is a downloadable game for the PS4. I don't think it's going to be coming on PC because it seems like Sony's funded it. And it looks pretty freaking good. Like, initial footage of that game made me think, wow, that combat looks bad. But now it's like, that doesn't look that bad, actually. Like, of the games I might buy on May 17th, that's the one I'd go with, because the other one is Valkyria Chronicles Remastered, but I have that on PC at this point, so it's like it's redundant for me.
It's already remastered. I played it in 60 frames years ago.
Yeah, it's 1080p. What else could they? You could probably play that game at 4K on a PC these days. The other thing, Shadow of the Beast, the one knock is that so far, of the games we've been name dropping this month, Shadow of the Beast isn't really a new IP. It's more like a reboot of a game from the freaking Amigo or something. I never played the original, so anyone that knows the correct answer, be my guest. But so far this month, the new IPs are Battleborn, Stellaris, and Stellaris is a 4x strategy game, which realistically we're not going to play anytime soon. And Battleborn has the neither of us really like how Gearbox's games play in the grand scheme of things, outside of, in my case, Brothers in Arms.
Right, and I'm just kind of like, the Borderlands factory, like, do I care?
Yeah. And it's like, I do want to eventually finish Borderlands 2 one day, but it's like, it's a loot game.
Yeah, that's how I like, every now and then it's like, this is the week, like, I'm gonna like, me and Gagan, we're gonna like start playing Borderlands 2, and then it's like, but it's a loot game.
Yeah.
That's an uphill climb.
That's basically what stopped me from going back to play the Division with WASD, because I'm always like, yeah, I'll play it for an hour at a night. That'll help me get through the game over the year, right? And I get home, and I'm just like, I don't want to play a loot game. Right. Anyway, next, the very week after, right, is Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
That game looks interesting.
That game looks interesting because it is a sequel to Mirror's Edge, right? Which we didn't think was going to happen. The only thing we were worried about going in was, it's been really late before we've seen any previews of that game or any real, extensive footage of that game. Like, it's a month away, and when was the last real demo of that game we'd seen?
Yeah, there's not a lot of footage out there for it, which is kind of concerning. Yeah.
Which might actually be a good thing. Who knows? It might be a good thing because now that game will be surprising because we weren't spoiled at everything that was going to happen. But again, Mirror's Edge. The big one for me that week is actually Overwatch.
Yeah.
Blizzard's new IP. It's unfortunately multiplayer only, and normally I'm not against multiplayer only games. And normally I'm not into Blizzard's CGI or their story. I don't care for any of the stories in their games. I've sort of liked the Overwatch stuff, though. I like Winston. I kind of want to play I kind of want to, this feels like the perfect thing to bring a game like Time Splitters into. Or, do a Time Splitter style campaign. Because Time Splitters, the beauty of that game is, you play as Cortez, but really you play as so many other characters throughout that game. Eventually Cortez just takes over.
Right.
And that's what's fun. That would be fun to do with Overwatch. You could do this level with Winston, and then you're a Tracer, and then you're the cowboy guy, or whatever the fuck. Right?
Right.
And that'd be dope. But, whatever. Blizzard made a multiplayer game. Hopefully it's really good. Well, hopefully. It's probably really good. Because it's Blizzard. It looks fun. It doesn't look like it has MOBA principles. More like a proper multiplayer shooter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the principles are you have classes, effectively. There's certain characters that are better at certain things, which I'm down for because I love the shit out of Team Fortress 2. Yeah. The biggest worry is, will the game have the legs of Team Fortress 2? That's debatable, right?
Right.
Because it's Team Fortress, because we're at a point when certain multiplayer games become so established that it's harder to compete with that game space anymore, right? That's what happened to the MMO. It's why, a lot of people were like, why am I going to play other MMOs when I'm just going to go back to World of Warcraft? Right.
Which I'm sure Blizzard is very thankful for.
Yeah, Blizzard is really thankful for that. But now they're learning that lesson sort of the hard way.
With Overwatch.
Well, not just Overwatch, but Heroes of the Storm. The game's done well for them. But, they're competing in Dota 2 and League of Legends space, and they're, in this weird way, the niche game. A Blizzard game is the niche game. Right?
Yeah.
And it's it's just a matter of this. MOBAs are so hard to learn, first of all, and then they're so time-consuming. It's I'm never going to learn multiple MOBAs. I'm going to find my one MOBA, and I'm going to stick to it.
Right. Because otherwise it's who has time to memorize 3 metagames? Come on.
Yeah. It gets exhausting. So, hopefully Overwatch is really good. What again? It's probably gonna be really good. Same day though is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutants in Manhattan by our favorite mercenary studio, Platinum Games. I might end up buying that on the PS4 because there's no way that game can't run 60 frames on the PS4, although it is Platinum Games. And it's Ninja Turtles. That is a co-op game on some level. Although if Ben gets it, I might get it on the PC just to play with Ben because on the PS4 it's Aljosa.
Right.
So same day is also Total War Warhammer or Total Warhammer, which is what they should have called it. That game's been looking really good. It'd be nice to see Total War sort of have a big entry again. It feels like Shogun 2 is the sort of last one anyone recognizes as the excellent entry, and now It feels like they've been missing stuff. They've been a bit more janky. There's been bugs, right?
It's because that studio really just wants to make a sequel to Alien Isolation.
Yeah, that's really what it's been the whole time. Who knows? But they seem really into the Warhammer stuff, so who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe the whole time they were like, listen, we just have to power through this Total War so we can pay for Alien. And then now that they're done with now that Alien was like, yeah, it didn't make us that much of a profit, but man, we get to work on Warhammer. Fuck yeah, whatever.
Right.
And then the rest of the month is whatever, Daydreamer, Dead Island, Definitive Edition, whatever. There's a game called Shadwen, which looks interesting. It's like a strategy stealth game thing. It's made by the people who made Trine. But whatever. Who knows? It could be good. Either way, it seems pretty busy. If all those games were good, goddamn, it's a really good month.
Yeah.
But I can assure you, having played some of the Battleborn beta, I'm not so sure that's gonna be good. And okay, so we like bad-mouthing what's his face? Who's the Randy Pitchford? Because he's a piece of shit. However, one thing I've always said is there's no reason to ever take joy, even in a studio who made a bunch of bad games, closing down. I would never take joy in the Dynasty Warriors dev closing down. One, because it's not that big of a deal that I don't like Dynasty Warriors. There are people that like those games. Two, having less developers making video games is not a good thing. You know what I mean? The more people we have making games is better. More is just better in this case. We need a middle market. You need average developers. You need mediocre developers. You need bad developers. Those things are what make good developers and good games exactly what they are, good.
Right.
If everything
and they're also often a place for people who are breaking into the industry. Maybe they didn't make a good game, but it's look, I did the art assets on that, and then they go on to better studios.
Exactly. When you limit the job pool, you create less opportunities for people, and eventually you create less future stars on some level, right? That's what happens in every other medium we can think of. The big thing in Hollywood has been that the era of truly great actors that sell movies is a bit of a dying breed, because it seems like, and at the least they don't cover the range they used to, right?
No.
We're not going to get into the Ghost in the Shell stuff, because fuck that. But Max Landis put up a video, it used to be not that long ago that Jet Li and Jackie Chan made movies. Realistically, someone else pitched a movie, but what sold it to a producer was, wait, we could put Jet Li in there? Yeah, fuck yeah, put Jet Li in there, and people love watching him kick people's asses. And it's yeah, I liked watching Jet Li whip some ass. But nowadays, who the fuck is Jet Li? You know what I mean? Who's the new Jet Li? Realistically, if I ask you, who's the present-day action hero? Is it Keanu Reeves? Keanu Reeves doesn't sell movies. Not really. He had that brief period when he sold The Matrix and stuff, but then nowadays, John Wick is more a surprise and an expectation, right?
Right.
And it's that wrestling is another big one I bring up, is that, they had their brief, they had The Rock, they had Stone Cold. It's all they did was you turn the corner and someone else was becoming the new big star in wrestling. Triple H, Mankind, Chris Jericho. Right? Nowadays, it feels other than John Cena, no one can really name a present-day guy on the roster. You know what I mean? Whereas back then, you could have not watched wrestling, but you knew who The Rock was. Because he was everywhere.
And now, like, the biggest thing that they can sell is like, hey, look, The Rock's gonna come back and wrestle, and it's like,
yeah, and in turn he's beating up your newer stars trying to make themselves look good, but because you're having them get their ass whipped by The Rock is actually hurting them, and you're basically hurting your future. But World Wrestling Federation doesn't need to learn anything. I mean, but comics, in a weird way, ran through the similar thing. Like, they got so into superheroes, they didn't know how to sell anything else for the longest time. So when that market collapsed, it took a shitload of non-Men in Tights comics with them. Which is a sad thing, because it's like, superheroes aren't the only good comics, and plenty of, like you would argue, some of the best comics are not superhero comics. A lot of the best comics aren't superhero comics. And because, like, I know you like Hellblazer, but he's not a superhero. He happens to be in a superhero setting, more or less.
Right, yeah. And then, I mean, you've got all the really great indie stuff that Image is doing, and you know, it's not good to not have like if there's nobody who knows how to do that, that's not good. Like, I don't know. There's really no other way to say it. Like, you need to have people who know how to do those things. Like, that market needs to be bringing in new talent.
Yeah. It's like we don't have a stealth game. Like, stealth games aren't really a thing because, like, who the hell makes stealth games? You know, Kojima's Kojima, but Ubisoft is... Yeah,
it's like IO, and you never know if the new Hitman's going to be good.
Yeah.
And then Kojima, which... who knows if he's going to make them anymore,
and the new Thief sucked.
Yeah, and the new Thief wasn't good, and Ubisoft hasn't made a great Splinter Cell game in how many years?
Yeah, and it's like, all the interesting stealth games are like indie type. That's great. I love the indie scene. But you need a middle market. You need a AAA. Believe it or not, you do need AAA to not suck sometimes. You know? And so we went on this tangent because I'm trying to say is like, I don't want Battleborn to be bad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need it to be good that I'll buy it. I need it to be successful because I want new IPs to be successful.
Right.
Like, I tried The Order because it's like, you know what? At least it's a new IP. Who knows? Maybe it being a derivative third-person shooter, there's other good things in it. Now, there weren't other good things in it besides that it looked good, and it could have been a really interesting third-person shooter if they made a video game and not, like, a movie thing. But, like, whatever. Like, at least new thing. Like, again, Destiny. Not a good game, in my opinion. It being successful, however, is not a bad thing. Right? Because it's like, it's a new IP that was successful. It basically shows people new IPs can succeed. In fact, you don't always have to worry about Metacritic. If you market it, it'll sell, right? Which, like,
right.
I don't know why that epiphany is needed on certain publishers. Like, if you marketed this game right, it would sell. You know, I'm not saying Bayonetta 2 could go out there and make Fallout numbers. That's ridiculous. But I'm saying you can sell a quality... The myth that people have made, and this goes back to, like, video game journalists making this myth, is that there exists a thing as the hardcore gamer game. In that this game is too hardcore to sell. I'm not saying there aren't certain things that make a game more marketable, right? I think aesthetically there are certain aesthetics that will sell more. Like, we can argue the hell and back that a Western RPG has a better chance of selling 8 million copies than a JRPG, on balance, right? Lord of the Rings is just more recognizable than anime shit. Right?
Right.
And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I'm just saying, like, that's just how people would look at it. However, the only thing that matters is if the game is good, and can the publisher tell people this game exists.
Right.
You take care of those things, the games will start selling. Dark Souls is the greatest example of that.
And even better, can you put it, like, in the mind of the people who it would appeal to?
Yeah.
Like, and that's marketing.
Yeah.
You know, you have to, like, you know, tell those people, like, say whatever you want about Blizzard. When they release something, I see advertisements for it on every single channel in bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they know how to market their stuff. If you do not know that Blizzard is releasing a game, it will not be because they have not marketed it.
Yeah. Because you've been living under a rock or something. You don't have a TV, you don't go on video game websites, and you ignore general video game forums.
Right.
You know, so it's like, you know, like that stuff helps. And then, you know, it's like we've got so many examples, and like people always make the thing was like, well, you know, the reason they streamlined Mass Effect 2 was because they need to sell more copies. It's like, Mass Effect 1 sold fine. Mass Effect 2 sold more copies because A, it's a sequel, the install base was bigger, I think it launched 360 PC from the get-go, too, as opposed to just 360 exclusive. It had a bigger marketing campaign. Like, they were marketing Mass Effect 1 on the Xbox 360 video store. They were marketing Mass Effect 2 on the Sci-Fi channel with a, like, 3-part series of all the voice actors that work on that game and how it came to produce that game as, like, this ultimate cinematic experience on a channel that will appeal to the type of people that would play a game like that. Because it's, again, science fiction and nerdy. Quote unquote. Right?
Right.
Like, you take care of those things, the game will sell. Again,
and the other thing was that, like, EA wasn't afraid to be like, we're going to have TV ads. We're going to put it out, like, you know, like on if you go to a video game website, like there will be a Mass Effect ad before the content that you want to watch plays. Like,
yeah,
they marketed it every way that they could. It was like Mass Effect 2 is coming out, and you know, I knew people who didn't care about Mass Effect who were like, this game looks cool as shit.
I mean, you know, you want the greatest example of marketing trumps everything. Before Final Fantasy VII, JRPGs were absolutely considered the hardcore nerd game, right? Like, no, I think, what was it, Yamauchi straight up badmouthed those games?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were, you know, because Mario was the game that appealed to people. Street Fighter and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, all it took was one of the best marketing campaigns ever. Like, a marketing campaign that was so good, we basically still have that marketing campaign format today, is the one for Final Fantasy VII. That game drops, went on to be gangbusters in sale. Final Fantasy reaches a whole new stratosphere as far as selling potential. And
which it has never gone back to.
Yeah, which has never gone back to. And it's like other JRPGs started selling like that. You know what I mean? Like, yes, right. The Western RPGs coming to consoles played a bigger role in that they had a bigger install base to work with. But because of all the money Bethesda made while making good games like Daggerfall and Morrowind, and the recent success of Oblivion, right? They were able to translate that into bigger marketing campaigns for Fallout 4 and Skyrim. And the fucking money speaks for itself at this point. You know?
Right.
So, in that case, I really do not want Battleborn to suck. Like, I want new IPs to do well. And it doesn't look that fun. Like, my thing with the beta was, I don't really like running around shooting things in that game. That seems boring. I think when you're not playing that game in co-op, it's a lot of go room by room, just shooting people. There's no rhyme or reason or sense of pace or rhythm, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to explain because it's like other games at least have a sense of rhythm. Even games I deem repetitive, like even Destiny still has. I wish I was articulate enough to explain this, but like there's always been a weird rhythm to how when you're fighting an enemy in a Bungie game. Right, like the little dance of just BR battles, but with the elites. Like there's a certain pace to it.
There's like it's you like you said, like you're doing a dance. Like there are steps for you to follow, and like it doesn't feel forced on you either. It just feels like this is what I should be doing at this point with this enemy. Yeah, it's just like the way the mechanics and the way the systems work. It doesn't feel like you're just going forward shooting dudes all the time. Like there does feel like the Flood, that's the worst thing about the Flood, is when you're running, you're just running and gunning. It's like and it removes the rhythm of like a combat with it, like a small group of elites or whatever. It feels like mindless corridor shooting. That's what this feels like. You're just going forward, you're shooting things. Some of them have shields, but it's like, that just pulls you back and makes you conservative. And whatever, like, it's meant to be played in co-op, because like I played initially with the bow and arrow girl, but she's a sniper, and I'm playing by myself. And I'm playing a lot of up-close stuff. It's like, of course, I'm at more of a disadvantage now. Then I played as the Marine, and I was like, alright, this is a little bit interesting, but, like, you're fighting really spongy bosses, and it's like, of course, this is meant for co-op, and it's like, alright, whatever. Like, I can't blame a game for being co-op-centric, right? That's good. But, like, it wasn't interesting to play, and as a multiplayer, I only played 2 matches, so again, I'm a little unfair, but in 2 matches, I just went, this has none of the strengths of a MOBA or a multiplayer first-person shooter, but it has all the things I don't want to enjoy about either. You know what I mean?
And, like, that is going to be a hurdle for that game to overcome. Otherwise, like we said, Uncharted 4 will do good. I think Overwatch is going to do really well.
That game has gotten a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah. Do you think, do you see besides Battleborn, do you see any other game in this group and you go, that's probably going to be a dud?
I mean, I would like Homefront not to suck, but I honestly, and Total Warhammer has me worried. I think that universe is ripe for that kind of game. I just, like, the people who are going to feel like the most attraction to it are going to be people who are really big Warhammer fans. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you have to, and like those games, and it's not just Creative Assembly, but like the Relic games, like, have a history of kind of turning people off with like certain decisions they made with regards to like the lore and like certain mechanical decisions they made, and people kind of like those games in spite of a lot of those things and not because of them. So I feel like that it's really an easy franchise to do wrong, and Games Workshop does it wrong a lot themselves. Like, you have to walk a very fine line with that. So hopefully, like, they find a way to fit the universe into the mechanics, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. What is there a game you're definitely getting that month, or you're just like, I'll probably wait for a lot of it to just be on sale or whatever?
I mean, I'm probably gonna pick up Doom.
Yeah.
I haven't played like a shooter in a while. I really like that franchise. That game looks good. I'm not in it for the multiplayer. Like, the multiplayer feedback has been very mixed. I just want the campaign, and the campaign looks like it's gonna do, like, Doom things. So that should be, and I'll probably pick up Uncharted 4. I don't have the affinity for that franchise that most people do. What about you? Is there anything you for sure, like, I'm gonna get this?
For sure, definitely Uncharted 4, just because I really like Uncharted 2's multiplayer, and I'm looking at Uncharted 4's multiplayer, and I'm like, this looks fun. And in general, like, Naughty Dog's been... Well, I am mildly intrigued to see if Neil Druckmann writes an Uncharted story, or if he Oscar baits it.
Right.
Right? And I'm not saying that... I am saying that in a negative context. It's like, I like the way the writing has always been in Uncharted. The plots have never been good. Whatever. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I always thought the banter between the characters was always awesome. They were the right mix of, he'll get serious when he needs to, but it's lighthearted and it's fun. Right? Like, there's a lot of looter narrative distance in the series, and it's absurd that Nathan Drake as a character is actually quite poor because of the nature of video games. Right? Like, that character might work in a movie, albeit he'd be generic, but in video games he comes off even more absurd because, like, as we've said, gameplay is part of the story, so when he's killing 200 people, it's like, he's not an everyman. He's the Punisher. It's like, that's not, no. Anyway, so that stuff's looking good. I, of course, got back up my boys Platinum, because I actually haven't done a good job of buying the Platinum stuff recently. I didn't buy Transformers Devastation, the showdown. That game was fun. I forgot why I didn't buy Transformers Devastation. I think something came out around that time that I wanted to play.
The unsung thing that Activision has done is, like, the last few Transformers games, the ones that High Moon have made and the ones that Platinum have made, have been pretty solid.
Yeah, it's just Legend of Korra got the short end of the freaking stick.
Yeah.
So it's whatever.
I'm super interested in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Like, that's my childhood. I can't not. You know what I mean? Like, the Michael Bay movies cause me physical agony because it's.
I tried to sit through that movie one time and I was like, nope.
Like, what are you doing? Like, stop.
It's not worth it.
What are you doing to, like, this thing that I love? Stop it, please. Like, it makes me just gonna want to go back and watch the 90s movies.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm hoping they can kind of, like, capture the fun and silliness of, like, the comics and the early movies with that, and make a good game. Like, Turtles in Time, still a classic.
Well, there really wasn't a Halo 5 was that month. That's why I figured don't buy. No, I still don't even know. Well, whatever. I ended up renting Transformers. Either way, I probably honestly I could see myself buying a lot of games in May. Like, I'm definitely getting Overwatch because my friend's getting it. I don't know if I'll double dip day one, but I'm at least getting the Xbox One. I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth. Xbox One version day one. God, I'd want to support Mirror's Edge just because it's like, let DICE do other things than Battlefield.
Yeah, Kira's really excited about that game.
I'm sort of with you in that I want Doom to be good. I don't want Doom to do worse than Doom 3, because then it's like Doom 3 fans sort of win. It's like, I don't want them to get any wins. Like, even if Doom 4 is actually worse, I'd be like, nope, still better, because it didn't go the direction Doom 3 did.
Man, I like Doom 3, and I don't want it to be worse than Doom 3.
Yeah, it's like, no, it shouldn't be. It's, you know...
No, like the thing that I like about it is, like, in a lot of ways, like, it looks like it's returning to, like, the speed and insanity of, like, Doom 1 and Doom 2.
Yeah.
And that's the appeal to me, is maybe, like, okay, the multiplayer, whatever, I don't care. Like, there's so many multiplayer games, and I don't play as many of them as I used to.
I mean, the weird thing is, I always question, like, we're happy that Metacritic is finally getting to a point where, like, 75 is green, which, whatever, could still go a little lower, because other mediums are better about it. But, like, the one thing I haven't really believed in is that games do well in spite of their Metascore.
No, I don't think...
okay, Destiny did. Wolfenstein did well, and that's not that high on Metacritic.
No, but that game had really positive word of mouth, and the reviews that... Even the reviews that were more negative were still like, this is really good, it's just not... Yeah.
Like, maybe people are finally responding to some 70s, but, like, I was thinking, Alien Isolation's technically not even at 80, I think, and that did 2 million. 2 million's not great, but it's like, you know, I can't believe we're saying those words, but it's not great for a AAA game, but, like, it was enough to, like, alright, they broke even at least. You know, like, it was successful. Right. Enough people played it. So, hopefully, you know, like, some of these games can survive some 7 out of 10s and all that stuff, because that's still a good game. Alright, let's move on from May, because we bogged down a lot on that.
Also, Star Fox comes out like 2 weeks before.
Star Fox comes out in like a week, though.
Yeah, in like 5 days, so I'll still be probably like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm still playing Star Fox.
Why does Nintendo's games release on a Friday? What is this nonsense?
I don't know, and Sundays too, they're like the only company that does that.
Yeah, it's like release. Actually, Friday's not that bad in case for people that actually have weekends off, so it's like,
Yeah, because then you get your game and you're like, alright, time to go.
Oh my god, the Metal Gear Rising guy actually made a stage in Mario Maker. I kind of want to see this. Alright, whatever, not right now. Hold on. What else were we? Quantum Break has been revealed to have the best debut for a new IP for Microsoft this gen, beating supreme successful luminaries like Sunset Overdrive, Rise of the Son of Rome, and Scream Ride.
It's a low bar.
It's a low bar. In sales, at least. I mean, as game... Well, Sunset Overdrive was fun. But, yeah. You know, the way I look at it is like, cool. I hope it's a positive for Remedy. I hope that means that the game sold enough to make a return on investment and is shaping up to go that way. Because that means Remedy gets to keep making games.
Yeah.
You know, and Remedy's cool. And Sam Lake's awesome. Plus, video games need more Sam Lake face. So.
And it would really be a shame if, you know, like, and again, it's a new IP, you know, like, it's doing interesting things. It's got a lot of really cool ideas.
Yeah, like, whether or not I want it to tell a story through a TV show, at least it's different. You know, sit through a TV show. What's the worst thing that'll happen to you? You were bored? Yeah, a lot of video games are boring. A lot of video games are boring doing the same old shit, though. So that's cool. Hopefully, you know, I guess the next bet is that Remedy is absolutely going to go full systems ahead on Alan Wake 2, which... Do you think Microsoft's going to publish that game?
I would assume so. I mean, if not, then Remedy publishes it themselves.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to self-publish that game. I think it would be a AAA game again.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's
I don't know.
Question. Like,
doesn't Microsoft have like a stake in that IP?
No, apparently Remedy owns it. That's been the thing with some of Microsoft's partnering is that they don't own a lot of their IPs that they fund. Like Rise Son of the Rome, Rise, if that ever was going to get a sequel, Crytek picks who's the publisher is. You know, like they would pitch it to other people, right? I think that's the same thing with. I don't think Ori's the same. Sunset Overdrive is like that. Like if there was ever a Sunset Overdrive 2, I believe someone else could publish that game.
Right.
Like they could go to EA and go, "Hey, this is how we did on Xbox One. Think about it. Now imagine what a sequel could do on a PlayStation 4 plus a PC." You know, and that's a matter of the developer wanting to do that. I think Insomniac's relatively short enough that they don't want to do that.
Right.
But whatever. either way, like, I don't think they necessarily own Alan Wake, so yeah, hopefully that's a thing. Biggest news of the week was actually that Leslie Benzies is suing people at Rockstar, which is freaking interesting, because Rockstar has been one of the most tightly lipped companies in gaming for so long. I mean, like, I think there's this weird BBC documentary out there on Rockstar, but it's like not even through Rockstar. Like, Rockstar actually doesn't have a role in it at all.
Right.
Anyway, apparently, according to Benzies, initially we thought he left the company. I think we actually talked about him leaving that company and saying, yeah, it's probably, you know, for creative pursuits, or he's just tired and he's made his money, he's good. But he apparently, we thought it was amicable. However, it's sounding like he was dicked over. It's sounding like he wasn't getting his shares. It sounds like he got pushed out by the Housers. It sounds like some Grand Theft Auto shit happened at the studio that makes Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
The American Dream is bullshit. At the American Dream is bullshit studio.
And the best part is, like, just looking from the stuff that's been released, like, we've got a lot of internal emails now that's going to become public record because of the trial, and, you know, reading through that stuff is really interesting. So it's like, oh, you know, and because the Housers don't give interviews, like, Rockstar doesn't give interviews, they just release a trailer and everybody loses their minds. So now it's like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense that, like, the guys who make Grand Theft Auto are dicks. Sometimes
I wonder if, like, there's ever been a game company that's been through as many court cases as Rockstar. You know what I mean?
Probably
it feels
not.
It feels like they were in a court case every year during the PS2 era, right? Because of Grand Theft Auto 3, and then Vice City, and then the hot coffee stuff, Manhunt, and then now again there was a thing with Grand Theft Auto 4 and the voice actor for Nico Bellic, right? Like, they dicked him over. And then, like, now we're hearing all this stuff from Leslie Benzies, and that's, like, huge. Personally, I'm hoping the story gets a lot of traction and, like, really starts getting into interesting areas. Like, it's a fucking TV show or something. But just because, like, we don't know anything about Rockstar. This is awesome to me.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna... Yeah.
You know, it's like when... It's not like when Marty O'Donnell got kicked out of Bungie, because it was like, okay, we already know a lot about that studio. Like, they've been pretty open about how they run things. Rockstar is just like, what happens at that studio? I don't know. They take rockets to the fucking moon and program there. Like, who knows? You know? Nobody knows what happens at Rockstar. And now we were going to learn. So... should be exciting.
So yeah, but like, they were learning some like messed up shit, but like how messed up Rockstar's been as a company for so long. And it's like, I remember people eviscerating the guy who was running Team Bondi, right? With the LA Noire stuff, and it's like, that's fucked up. But like, there's a Polygon article like fully detailing this whole thing. But in 2010, there was apparently a bunch of like spouses of Rockstar employees like open blogging and just pointing out how many how shitty the working conditions are at Rockstar, and how, you know, people are getting benefits cut for them out of nowhere, and the hours people are being asked to work. And it's like, you know, if you're talking 2010, Grand Theft Auto 4, monster sales. Red Dead Redemption was a big fucking hit for them, right? And whatever, 3 years later, they would sell enough copies of Grand Theft Auto 5 that they'll buy like 4 countries in our lifetime. But, you know, like, it just makes certain things at Rockstar just unacceptable, which, whatever, that's what happens when you make all that money. You eventually become scumbag, right? Like, you know, there was that time when Google was like, do no evil or whatever the fuck, and now modern day Google is basically Satan.
Like, be as evil as you can without getting caught.
Yeah. So, you know, it's weirdly funny that, you know, some of this bizarre, like, fucked up corporate shit is happening at the company that does nothing but ridicule fucked up corporate shit.
It's like karma or something.
Yeah. Otherwise, the only other piece of news is that the Castlevania developer of Lord of Shadows, Mercury Steam, is making a new game called Raiders of the Broken Planet. Get it? Apparently going to be an online multiplayer asymmetric adventure. So who knows what that game will end up as? It is scheduled for PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One, you know. And then there's a whole lot of, like, stuff on NX rumors, but again, those are rumors. And they're all crazy these days, so it's like, I don't even know what's a fact anymore with that, but it is a bit troubling if Nintendo has not sent out dev kits to some of these studios by now, right?
Yeah, that's a little problematic.
Because I feel like, no, Nintendo needs all these games that are going to release to also release on the NX Day fucking 1. Like, that system should not release, and Deus Ex Mankind Divided should not be on it. When fucking Human Revolution Director's Cut was on the Wii U. Like, it should be as simple as they've already got that SKU ready, they're just waiting for Nintendo to, like, you know, do their thing and reveal everything. Right? But, whatever. Let's move on from that. Otherwise, Gears of War 4 beta footage is out there. The general audience is bitching that it looks like more Gears of War, which, frankly, they should bitch about that, because, come on. And then, second of all, that it doesn't look as pretty as other video games. And it's like, come on. Come on. What have we come to as a society that this is bothering you that much? I'm not saying that the game shouldn't evolve more visually, right?
Right.
Because, you know, it's a Microsoft. Like, you expect a Microsoft product to look impressive visually when they're funding it, but when it's 60 frames, actually, no, I don't. Because the Xbox One has proven to be a bit not as strong as we thought it would be. Yeah. It's actually weaker than the PS4 by, people are saying, a reasonable margin. Because we've seen it not hit 1080p on so many games and just have frame rate issues that the PS4 won't have. And then the other thing is, it's freaking Gears of War. Like, as a graphically impressive franchise, it started graphically impressive, but I felt like the further that gen went on, I didn't think Gears of War 2 looked that much better than the other 2008 games that year. No. I did not think Gears of War 3 looked as good as some of the 2000, like Battlefield 3 was 2011. That game looks way better than Gears of War 3. You know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know why everyone cares that much, but whatever. It looks, me and Joe will probably play the beta, which hopefully is good, but, you know, we'll see. Do you have Gears of War Ultimate Edition, or did you just say, fuck that, I'm not buying that?
No, I actually do.
Oh, you might actually be in the beta with us.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be dope. Otherwise, William, what have you been playing?
I've been playing, I finished, The Walking Dead Season 2.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. I really don't, you know, so, like, at the end of Season 1, spoilers for the end of The Walking Dead Season 1, if you still haven't played that game, you really should. But it's, so, like, in the end of The Walking Dead Season 1, you're set down, and it's like, look at all the choices you made, don't you feel bad?
Yeah.
This game does not do that.
Which is good.
No, it basically, you get to the end of Episode 5, and you're like, this really could not have ended any other way. Like, it's the characters making decisions and you making decisions, and partially, like, what your influence as Clementine does, and also, like, okay, your influence as Clementine is limited because these people are adults, and there's certain things that you just cannot convince them to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, but it's really good. There's the choice at the end is really pretty incredible in terms of, like, the number of choices you have to make very quickly and the number of choices that come after, like, what is the major choice. So it's like, okay.
Right.
Like, there's probably 6 endings, and they are all very, very different.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm trying not to spoil it, but I really, it's one of those games where I look at it at the end and I'm just like, I have no idea how you make a sequel to this. From the point of view of these characters, I could see you coming, like, into contact with the characters who you're with at the end, depending on the choices you make. Again, it's not like the end of, like, Season 1 where it's like, you will be with these people. It's like, no, you could be in, like, 4 different places with completely different characters.
Mm-hmm.
and some of them could be dead, and some of them could not be dead, and it's really crazy. So I like structurally, I don't know how you follow it. I think like Telltale has talked about, like, yeah, we're gonna make season 3, but we really don't know how right now. So it may have been too creative for their own good. But it's really well done. It's a really powerful ending. In a lot of ways, it's actually more powerful than like the ending of season 1, because the end of season 1, Lee is gonna die. Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
That decision is taken away from you. At season 2, the decisions you make directly impact the fate of multiple characters. So, like, how you determine to deal with this situation that you found yourself in is, like, a lot of people are going to die because of the decisions that you make, or will not die. And there's really, like, there's no, like, okay, you can get out of this, you can solve this problem. It's nope. Like, you are in a situation, and the season has led you to this point where you're going to make a decision. Like, really bad things are going to happen as a direct result of your actions. And so, like, the decision you make at the end of season 1 to have Lee, like, teach Clementine or not teach her, or, like, how you handle that is emotionally impactful, but you don't feel like you are responsible for Lee's death or the way that he chooses to handle it. You're just like, okay, Lee would do this. At this point, it's like, at the end of season 2, it's like, okay, I am directly responsible for the fate of these people, which is really, really cool.
Right. That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's really good. I really liked season 2. I think everybody who played season 1 should at least give it a shot. Yeah, I can't really say enough good things about it. I think it's a really good game. And then I also played. I've been playing Dark Souls because everyone's playing Dark Souls 3, so I'm like, I should finish the first one. Mm-hmm. That game is so cool, and it's really cool, especially like, not really knowing a lot of the stuff that you guys know, because I haven't really jumped in deep to that series. Yeah. So, like, it's all still new for me.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I know you can hear it in your voice when we literally just give you the answer, right? Right. It's like you get to a problem and we're like, oh yeah, you do this, and you're like, well, I mean, I didn't want you to answer it for me. And it's like, well, right. Like we've been learning to, like, just shut up a little bit more and just be like, or, like, at least or try to be vague. It's like, okay, what's near that I can say, like, how you get to the depths isn't this. You just, remember that one area where you fought this thing? That, just go over there. And it's like, yeah, it's so weird. But, like, yeah, like, what's it like playing that game in 2016? That game's 5 years old.
It's really cool, actually, because, like, the things that make it, like, you know, that people, like, talk about when it was released are still true. Like, oh, you know, it does this for you. Like, not that it does things for you, but, like, you have to figure this stuff out. Mm-hmm. And the level design is still doing these really impressive things. And, like, that's all stuff that you have to figure out now. And, you know, just seeing the story unfold through, like, the item descriptions and the characters that you talk to and all that stuff is, again, really neat. But it's also cool to, like, have working knowledge of the other Souls games, like watching you play Dark Souls 3 and being like, oh, okay, like, that's a callback to the first one. I've seen that. Or, hey, this is different from the first one. I'm curious to see, like, how that works when I actually get there. You know, so it's really cool. You know, part of me is like, you should buy Dark Souls 3 and just play it with everybody else, and part of me is like, nah, man, you should just keep going through Dark Souls 1.
Nah, you should play the best ones. That's the way I look at it. You probably should have maybe played Bloodborne with us. That would have been fun. Yeah. Just because that's different enough from the other ones that it's like it's still fundamentally the same game, but the little things all add up for a nice change of pace.
Yeah. So, I mean, eventually I do want to play Bloodborne, and I think if I play another, I mean, I still have to finish.
I think you're secure enough. I think you're secure enough that when you get to a difficulty spike, you're like, do I really want to be frustrated, or am I just going to summon someone so I can get further in this game? Whereas me, Chris, Phil, none of us are allowed to not summon, in case you just didn't notice that today. Not that I didn't summon, because I had no Estus class. But it's more important for us to beat these boss fights solo.
Right. And to me, it's like, I just want to see what's going on. And part of me is like, I really want to do them solo. But, like, the other part of it is just like, okay, you know, like, let's see this stuff. So, I mean, I think I'm going to be a little bit more judicious with my summoning from now on, because I think part of it is like, okay, how do I figure this out? But it's neat to, like to have like the experience of other people at your disposal,
Right.
and like to have you guys kind of like actually have to remember like, oh yeah, that bit. You know, and plus the guy I'm playing it with has beaten Dark Souls 2, but actually never finished the first one. So like if I choose to like, hey, get on some of this, we're gonna go do this boss, like we're all both discovering like new things, which is cool. So yeah, it's really fun to go back and play that. And I don't know, it's a neat game. I can't really say anything else. Dark Souls, like everybody loves that game. Dark Souls is cool. I don't know. I'm playing it as a dexterity build, so I'm playing it a little bit differently from other people, which is fun. So everyone else is like, big great sword, and I'm like, I have a little katana and I poke people with it. But it's really neat, and it's cool to see the different ways that you can build it and like find all the different things. And like sometimes I use like guides doing RPGs. Like I'll be like, okay, did you do this quest? Did you do this quest? Did you do this quest?
Just,
and like Dark Souls is like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, it's because, you know, that's what's fun about playing those games. Because, like, you take The Witcher 3, not, like, every game, on some level, you do hurt yourself playing with a guide on some level.
Right.
But, like, if the experience is being able to do everything, then it's worth taking that one loss. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, take The Witcher 3. You do lose something just guiding and knowing exactly what to do the whole time. But the beauty of that game is just that world, all the fiction in it, all the characters. So the small price you pay and that you not being surprised all that often is offset by you get all these interesting and lovable characters to like just chit chat with and explore this world with, right? Right. In contrast, a game like Dark Souls or like say Metroid, you don't want to guide it because part of the experience is that great unknown and figuring it out yourself and being in the space that makes you feel lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the atmosphere. Like when you take, it's like, why would you fucking ever play a puzzle game and then say, I went to YouTube? It's like, well, why did you play a puzzle game? You know what I mean? Like, ideally you go to this genre because you want it to stump you at some point. You know what I mean?
And the nice thing about like, and the thing about like the Souls games versus the other thing is it is all about like that sense of discovery and newness and, oh, I figured it out. Whereas like, I think the appeal of like, you know, like you said, like The Witcher or like a Dragon Age or something like that is not that like, look at this stuff I'm discovering. It's like, look at these interactions that I'm having with these characters or look at this cool area that I'm exploring. It's not that like I had to figure out how to get there or I had to figure out how this works. It's more along the lines of like just the act of being in that world. Whereas like the Souls games, it's the act of being there and then like, oh shit, how does this work? What is going on?
Right.
So played some Dark Souls, and then the other thing that I've been doing is Hotline Miami, which I finally finished, which I guess I was on like the second to last level, and I didn't realize it, so I like blew through that and then blew through the last level of like the Jackets story, so now I'm doing like the biker story. So I guess like, because it's like technically like you beat the game when you beat Jacket's story, but now it's like, okay, like you have knives now, you can't really pick stuff up, so it's making you play it in a different way, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But, like, fuck me if I'm going to go back and find all those stupid tiles. I'll just look up the actual ending on YouTube. It's too much. It's too much work. Even with, like, the mask that's, like, you can see secrets, it's, like, they're still really hard to see. It's, like, little tiny speck.
Yeah. No,
those are the other two.
Crazy. What did you think of the story in that game?
In Hotline Miami?
Yeah. Like, we can talk about the gameplay all we want about Hotline Miami. It's fantastic. The soundtrack's amazing. What do you think about how savage that fucking plot is?
I think it's awesome. I think maybe like on a sentence to sentence writing basis, it's not like as strong as it wants to be, but like on a like look at this really cool idea and the presentation of this idea and like the cleverness of it and the way that the game presents it to you, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's very self-incriminating to like the player and like games as a whole and like that genre of game. Like, you know, it's kind of Spec Opsy. Like,
came out the same year.
Yeah, so it's really neat, and it's not like Spec Ops. It's a way more subtle than Spec Ops is about it. Spec Ops is like, look at this shit, and Hotline's like, Look at this little hint here.
Yeah, it's hinted at, and then like at the end, it completely goes like, "Oh shit, you're the dick, you're a murderer."
Yeah, like I'm the asshole here. Like this is like all the things that I've done have been like there's no like moment of reconciliation that I can have. It's like nope, I'm just an asshole.
Yeah, that stuff was cool. I like Hotline Miami. That's a fantastic game.
It is, and it's been a lot of fun to go back to because that's one of those games where it just feels good. Like you don't have to like the Souls games. Like it takes a little while for me to get back into that. Okay, shield up, like walk through, like swing the sword this way. Like there's a mindset you have to be in. Like the mindset of Hotline Miami never goes away.
Yeah, it's just brutal, savage, and fast.
Yeah,
like that's universal. Like it's still hard, but it's easier to get back into. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
like Dark Souls requires Dark Souls feels great, but it's patient.
Yeah, and Hotline is just like, all right, let's go murder everybody in this room.
Yeah, and not that you don't learn to be a bit more patient in Hotline Miami, but like initially just going in there and being a bit buck wild is inherently fun right off the bat to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like that sense of speed never goes away, and that sense of understanding of like the other thing about the Souls games is like you have to kind of figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And what you should be doing, and like Hotline Miami, it's like you know what you want to do, and like usually the best way to get there is just not fucking up.
Yeah.
So it's like the level of execution is always like the thing that gets you. Whereas like the Souls, you'll just die until you understand something. Hotline is like, okay, I fundamentally understand what I have to do. Can I be good enough to get through it without getting touched? Which is kind of the super hot method of like game.
Super hot.
Yeah. Which I still haven't played, and I'm going to when it goes on sale.
Yeah. Makes you feel better. Ben wasn't super high on Hotline Miami 2. So you don't have to play that game. You can just play Hotline Miami 1 for the rest of life. I don't know. People have not mixed, like, everyone agrees Hotline Miami 2 is a good game, but in general, there's just things that aren't as tight. It feels a little bit more bloated. The story's maybe overdone this time. So.
That's kind of a shame.
Yeah. Whatever.
But I mean, like, I think you're right. I think they missed an opportunity not naming it Hotline Miami 3.
Oh my god! It's like, god damn it! I'm so mad that someone pointed that out to them too late. Yeah, because it's so good. That joke should be like eternal.
But yeah, I mean, and the other thing is like I don't know like if I ever wanted the sequel to Hotline Miami. Like I got like to like the end of like the Jacket Strand. Like I don't ever want it like because the levels are just so good, and. Like, playing Hotline Miami is kind of being part of a fever dream. Like, you kind of forget the levels once you're done with them. Yeah, it's like, every time I go back to it... Yeah, it's like, this is a new level. Like, I have to figure it out all over again.
Like, Ben pointed out, it's like, part of that game making you did... No one told me, what was I gonna say? I was like, when Ben said that, he didn't enjoy the fact that like it stopped making him dizzy because Hotline Miami 1 makes him dizzy. It's like it actually added to the experience because like it's sold as you said, it's like fever dream. Whereas like Hotline Miami 2 felt more static and natural, and as a result, it just took certain things away from the experience. Like that's an example of you technically quote unquote fixed it, but you actually lost something fixing it.
Yeah, like you should. It's one of those games where I feel like that sense of disorientation is part of the appeal of it, and it kind of like mirrors the mindset of the character that you're playing in a weird way. So like the way he feels is kind of the way you feel just by being thrown in the same situation that he is, just because like the visuals and the way that it like flows and everything. And so you're like, okay, like it's kind of meta narrative in that way, which is really cool, for lack of a better way to describe it. Like it's selling you on the character's experience by giving you that experience constantly. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's such a cool game, and it's such a like a auteurish game, and like an authorial game, and like nobody else but those two guys could have made that game, and it's so. Oh, Hotline Miami's so good. That's all I have to say. If you get stuck on that game, go back to it. Go finish Hotline Miami. It's totally worth it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Badass.
I don't know a single person who's not in love with that game, who's played it.
Oh, the game is so freaking good. Yeah, that should be that, though. I mean, otherwise, what are you going to be playing after this?
I'm probably gonna go. I really want to play Super Metroid. Like that was last month's game of the month, and I didn't have time to do it last month. So
Yeah.
I might just fire up Super Metroid and go do that.
Yeah.
I might try to slog through more of Chapter 2 of Metal Gear Solid 5.
Chapter 2 is absolutely a slog.
Which is a shame because like there's a lot of really high moments in that thing, and then you look at like Chapter 50 or the Mission 51, and you're like, that is a mission I really wanted to play. It's a mission
Is that the Solanthropus stuff that didn't make the cut?
Yeah. Like that mission looks badass as shit. Why is it not in the game?
Yeah.
Like Konami, you could release that as like a $3 add-on and I would pay for it. Just go do it. Just go finish it up. Maybe even a little bit more, $5, $7. Just fucking finish it and give it to me. I want it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah. No, it's disappointing because that game would have been even more fantastic, but whatever. It is what it is.
So,
time to move on. Wait for Kojima's next game. His next hype train.
Day one.
Day one, yeah. But that'll do it for episode 85. You can leave us comments in the comment section of this lovely YouTube video or on endlessbacklog.com, or, believe it or not, you can post on our forums. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. And other than that, send emails at podcast@endlessbacklog.com. Hopefully on episode 86, we get Chris back. Maybe even Ben, who's been really passive-aggressive this weekend. Ben! Anyway.
Full Ben dissension this week.
Yo, this has been next level Ben dissension. Anyway, this was episode 85. We are out.
Peace.